What is going on, everybody? My name is Jay. This is Unplayable, and today me and Mike are going to be going through some Lorcana spoilers. Now, it's been a minute. We haven't done one of these in a while, so that means we got a lot of cards.
A ton.
Yeah, way too many to cover in one video. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it down for you. We're going to do a certain amount now, and then we're going to drop additional videos covering some of the other ones, because I think there's like, what did we say, 70 cards for us to go over? That's like hours of video for us. Well, technically we don't have David this time, so maybe it won't be.
It'll be 15 minutes now.
Exactly. At least with this first card, which is I'm Stuck, a 1-cost Winnie the Pooh card in purple. Chosen exerted character can't ready at the start of the next turn. Now, what do you think about this one, Coach?
I think it's kind of boring. Not that excited
trash.
about it. Yeah.
I don't foresee this seeing any kind of play, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, because you have to choose something that's already exerted. Like, yeah, this just doesn't seem good to me.
Yeah, and you have to put this in your deck over other cards that you could have also put in your deck.
Right. Maybe
if you really need cheap item or cheap action cards and there aren't that many other options, you use this, but probably not.
Yeah. Does not seem that good. Like, what's the best use case here? If they have an exhausted 3 quester and you don't want them to be able to quest for 3 next turn, and you
I feel like
don't
there's better ways to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like challenging it since it's already exerted and then just defeating it. I don't know. It just seems bad.
Yep, agreed.
All right, next up is a Flynn Rider, green. And it's just a 1/3 vanilla. I don't like this stat line. I don't play Olaf or Mini because the stat line is kind of trash. And I mean, for example, 1-cost Hook exists, which deals 3 and survives attack into this. So why would you ever play this stat line at 1?
I don't know.
Seems bad to me.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it either. I guess if you just like need every single 1-cost card you possibly can run, and you can play this too, but I don't know. Another not very exciting card.
Agreed. All right, we got a Cogsworth at a 2-cost in Sapphire. I should start calling them by their actual names, maybe.
No,
I don't know.
Shouldn't.
All right, it's in blue, 2/3, which is a normal stat line for a 2-cost when they have something that's not vanilla. Wait a minute, your characters with Reckless exert them and gain 1 lore. It's not questing either, as we've learned in our latest video.
Yes, we did.
So if you have Shield of Virtue, you can ready something with Reckless and then quest again. Well, gain another lore.
Gain a lore through this, yeah. That's spicy. Like, I think that's going to catch a lot of people off guard and brings a lot more value to those cards that let you ready cards that you had previously exerted to either challenge or do this ability. You could quest for, well, not quest, but you could gain 2 lore with like Gaston with just this card on the board, right? And something to ready it, which there are, a lot of those cards. So yeah, I think it's cool. I like it. It also shifts into the big Cogsworth, which we'll talk about in a second, that I like as well. What do you think about this one?
I think this is a pretty sweet card. I mean, obviously it slots right in with red if you're going to be playing a bunch of Reckless stuff. And then it also kind of counters some of the Reckless stuff that green is trying to do with John Silver and Iago and crap like that. So that's kind of cool. I think it's pretty good. And like you said, he goes into our next card, which you can talk about now, really well. It's a 5-cost Cogsworth that you can shift for 3 in Sapphire, and it's a 2/5, has ward. Your other characters gain resist 1, and it quests for 2. So this
does a lot.
Yeah, this does so much. There's so much on this card. It seems like pretty good value for a 5-cost, and then when you pair that smaller Cogsworth in, you're playing this for 3, seems pretty decent. As we've learned in videos that we've played, resist is going to be pretty strong, and it's definitely gonna, at a higher level, it might not be as significant, but at a lower level, people will definitely make challenges that they don't realize that are bad, especially when you're playing on something like Pixelborn.
I'm constantly forgetting about resist.
Yeah, and you can't undo it, so it'll be strong for that reason as well. But I know I forget a lot of things with new cards, especially like this. Like, I forget this has ward. I see this card, I think it just gives everything resist. And then I forget it has wards, and I try to like let it go or Dragonfire, and you can't. So I think this guy's pretty sweet.
Yeah, does a lot. It has 2 lore on it as well, so it's like pretty good. just
He
by
is
the
a super
stats.
rare.
Yeah, I think this will be a card that a lot of people will play.
Yeah. All right. Next up is the Prince. He never gives up. 3 cost in steel, a 1/3. We hate that stat line. But he has bodyguard and resist 1, and he quests for 2. Is this just so? There's other 3 costs. Like the generic stat line is 3 costs, 3/3, quest for 2. Is this better than that stat line?
I think the better comparison is probably Hercules, right? Because it's a 3 cost,
he's a
3/3 bodyguard with 1 lore, I think, but no resist.
Yeah.
So do you pay 2 power or strength or whatever for an extra lore and resist 1? I think you do, because I think that this is trying to mostly protect your other characters, and you're gonna do that by questing, and now you get twice as much lore.
Yeah.
And the extra resist is massive, because it means that if your opponent has a 3 cost, Rafiki, it doesn't kill this now. Granted, you don't also kill the Rafiki in return, but I think certain strategies will want this more than it will want Hercules.
I think I agree. I picked this over Hercules at this point too, just because the name of the game is Quest for Lore, and this does that while
that better.
also doing
while also
bodyguard
protecting your
thing.
other characters. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I agree.
There's a lot of really cheap characters with a lot of lore now, and you can protect those characters better with this than with the previous 3 cost bodyguards that existed.
Yep.
So yeah.
All right. Next up is Bounce, a 2 cost green uninkable action. Return chosen character yours to your hand to return another chosen character to their player's hand. I've played this against you. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You can't sing it, but it's pretty cheap, only at 2. The question, it's uninkable is the hard part about it, I would say, is do you include this in your deck as an uninkable card? And I think obviously there will be synergies for this card. So if you're playing purple green, then this probably finds a slot in there so that you can bounce stuff like Goat to gain lore or Rabbit to draw cards, and then also benefit from bouncing your opponent's character back to their hand and getting that tempo. I definitely, since Lorcana started, I've been kind of a green tempo guy. So this fits right into that playstyle, and I like it. I'm curious to see if people play it outside of playing the bounce package in purple. Like if this just slots into random green decks or not.
Do you think it's better because you get to return one of your characters to your hand? Or do you think it would be better if you didn't have to return one of your characters to your hand?
I think that's that's kind of supposed to be the penalty, is that you're having to bounce your own thing. But with the bounce package, it's kind of,
I think it turns it into a benefit, right?
It turns it into a bit of a benefit. The weird thing too is that Mothers Know Best is a 3 cost uninkable that you can sing, and does this without bouncing one of your own cards.
Yeah. So some decks where you care about bouncing your own stuff, you play this. Where you don't care about bouncing your own stuff, you probably play the other one.
I think that's where it'll be at for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, very cool card. Otherwise, you use this to pretty good effect in the games that we played. So yeah. All right, next.
All right, 2 cost Cinderella in steel, a 2/2. That's kind of a low stat line for a 2 cost. Well, let's see what she's got for us. She's got Have Courage. When you play this character, you may draw a card, then choose and discard a card, and quest for 1. This is hard to evaluate.
It's tough. It's Simba, but costs 1 more and has 1 more strength.
I think it's good.
The only reason it's good. There's only one reason why it's good.
Why is that, Coach?
Because it shifts into the 5 cost Cinderella.
Oh, no. That's not what I was going to say. That is good too, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. But my reasoning to why this is good is because when I play Amber Steel, Simba comes in super clutch for games that I draw like 2 whole new worlds or other uninkables that I'm not, like Hades. Hades is a perfect one to target with this because then you start the loop without having to play a Hades. So I think this could find a slot in there.
It's just like Simba number 4 or number 5 through 8, basically.
Right. And I think that ability is actually good in this game because of the uninkable nature of some of the cards. So you could actually, if you're playing all 8, you could play more uninkables in your deck technically. and see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be decent because I think Simba's good in that Amber Steel deck. Would it see play outside of that deck? I don't know. Except for the fact that it can be shifted onto.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I've always liked Simba, and I think having more of that effect is probably just good.
Yeah.
Even though her stat line is kind of bad.
Oh, both of them pair really good with Rockstar Stitch in that deck too, because when you do Rockstar Stitch, you draw off of him, and then you draw off of this character and then discard one. So you get to see 2 cards and then discard a card, which is pretty cool.
That is nice.
Mulan, 4-cost Ruby, 4/3 with Rush and 1 Lore Pip.
And it's uninkable.
Yeah, and it's uninkable. So it's a Rafiki with 1 extra, but it costs 1 extra.
1 more.
I don't know. Maybe with Resist, this is better than Rafiki now.
Maybe.
It costs more, but typically in red decks, you're going to higher ink counts anyway. So does that matter? Does this replace... Not all red Amethyst decks play Rafiki either. I think most of them actually don't now. But if you were to play that card, would this replace Rafiki in that deck is the question. Because of Resist. And like that new Prince that we just saw, you'd be able to
this
play
does take it out.
So I don't know.
It's
when I first saw it, I thought this was trash.
But intuitively, it looks bad, but maybe you're right. Maybe you just need the extra strength to get over the top of Resist.
Yeah, I think it'll be one of those meta things. Like if Resist becomes something that a lot of people are playing, this might get better than Rafiki.
Yeah,
we'll
it's still. I mean, the value's maybe there, right? Because it's still like, basically pay 4 to deal 4 damage to something and then hopefully stick around afterwards.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe it's not that bad.
All right. Hypnotize. 3-cost, inkable, green action. Each opponent chooses discards a card. Draw a card. I think this is way better than the previous discard cards. Oh, well, at least the Sudden Chill. Because you're replacing the card itself. You can't sing this one, so you're hard casting it, but you're probably fine with that if you're playing a discard deck, and we know that a discard deck exists right now. So
it sure does.
What do you think?
I think that the card is good. I don't love that this is a strategy that they're pushing, but I mean the card does what you wanted to do in those decks, right?
Yeah.
And if you have Prince John out, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, in another video. I don't think we're going to talk about it in this one, but whenever you discard a card from your opponent's hand, you get to draw a card. So you get to draw 2 cards when you play this if you have him out, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's real good. There's other discard things too, isn't there? There's something else, but I guess we'll get to it in a minute. Yeah, I think this card's going to be... If you're playing a discard package, this card
this goes in. Yeah,
in there.
For sure.
All right, Minnie Mouse, 4-cost Ruby, 2/3. That's terrible stats for a 4-cost, but it is a Floodborn, so you can shift it for 2. Is this our cheapest shift?
I think so.
There's Evil Queen, I think.
Is that shift for 2 as well?
Yeah, and I think she shifts for 2 as well. So, but this we have a 1-cost Minnie, so we can technically shift this on turn 2.
It's the 1-cost 1/3, right?
Yep, 1-cost 1/3
in red, right? Okay.
And this has evasive and Undersea Adventure. Whenever you play a second action in a turn, this character gets +2 lore this turn. I'm not convinced on this character at the moment.
Yeah,
but maybe you can convince me.
What's the best case scenario here? Is you play 1/3 Minnie on 1, you shift this on 2, and then on 3. Well, yeah, you shift this on 2 and then quest for 1, and it has evasive, so your opponent probably can't deal with it. Right. Then on turn 3, you play 2 actions and quest for 3. But then, like, where's your hand?
Yeah, where's your hand?
I feel like you need to play this with like a ton of card draw.
Yes. Like if you can draw a bunch of cards, have Rogue Mickey out, play a bunch of actions, and then
maybe there's some
3.
red green Mickey Minnie.
I don't know if it exists. Though.
I don't know if it does either.
Bad.
It does. Yeah, I don't see it, but maybe I want to try it now.
This is one of those cards that like it doesn't make sense right now, but it might have a spot at some point with some kind of archetype that they have built in that we haven't seen yet. But right now, it seems bad. Maybe
you go like red steel and you play Captain Hook and the Shift Captain Hook as well. And then you also play
Mini and Shift Mini.
Yeah, Mini and Shift Mini. But then with the
Whole
Shift
new
Captain
world.
Hook, you can whole new world, refill your hand, and then be able to play a bunch of events. And then your opponent hopefully can't deal with it because it's evasive. But it's just a normal character that has 3 willpower and just dies to so many things.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems bad to me.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sold.
All right, Panic. 3 cost green, uninkable, 2/3 with 2 quests. And its ability is when you play this character, chosen character gets +2 this turn. If the chosen character is named Pain, he gets +4 instead. We got this card so long ago. We haven't seen Pain yet.
I know.
I really want to know what Pain is like. That seems like
It probably costs 2. And
inkable.
yeah, 2 inkable with, I don't know, some benefit that he gets when he challenges.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Or like he's probably like a 1/4 or like a 1/4 or something.
Yeah, you can turn him into a 5/4. That'd be cool.
Without seeing Pain, I think this guy's decent.
Still pretty good.
Yeah, his on play is not irrelevant. Getting +2, it's like Meg. Probably Meg is probably better than this still, though. I think.
Yeah, it's inkable. It's cheaper.
Yeah, unless you have Pain. But this guy does quest for 2, so that's nothing to snuff at. I think I had to hold reservations until I see if Pain's any good.
Yeah,
to be honest,
for sure. Yeah, the one thing that I think is true is that having extra strength to be able to challenge into resist is probably going to be useful. So that in and of itself, I think, has some value.
Yep. All right. Next up is Bucky.
This is one of your favorites.
Squirrel Squeak Tutor. He's a 2 cost inkable 1/1. Terrible stats. But he has Ward. And whenever you play a Floodborn character, each opponent chooses and discards a card, and he quests for 1. So more discard package. If you're running this, you're running Hypnotize probably. And you're probably also running lots of Floodborn characters. And there's so many combos we've already seen that exist with this guy that are kind of crazy, especially with Bibbidi Boppity Boo, which we haven't talked about yet. This guy seems like he's going to be a whole archetype by himself.
Yep, definitely. One card that could threaten to discard your opponent's entire hand over the course of a game.
Yes, seems good.
Yep. Again, not a huge fan that this is a strategy that they're pushing, but if it's something that you want to do, then this is a good way to do it.
Yep, agreed. Robin Hood, a 2 cost steal 1/3 trash stats, quest for 1, and skirmish exert to deal 1 damage to chosen character. I have not found a way to make this character super good. The one way I did find a way to make him good was dealing damage to use him with Beast, and then resist canned that idea. So I'm not sure. I think this guy's very good, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 2 like uninkable is kind of rough. I don't
crap stats.
Yeah, the stats aren't great. It's the almost I don't know. Like you're getting the same amount of value out of the 1 damage to chosen. It's kind of like that gun, the ray gun, whatever it is,
plasma blaster.
That one, but it's cheaper and it doesn't cost you anything to activate it. But it is a character that can just be attacked, and you have to exert it in order to use it. I don't know. Like you can maybe think of cool things with red where you can kind of like exert it, ready it with Shield of Virtue and stuff like that. But again, like you're only dealing 1 damage. If your opponent has any amount of resist, this literally does nothing.
Yep.
Except quest for 1.
I do wonder if at some point there's some kind of steel archetype where you just run Hans, Robin Hood, Plasma Blaster, and then you got like Tinkerbell and Sword, Smash, Fire the Cannons, and it's just like all about pinging your opponent without having to challenge in at all.
I'd like the sound of that, but the steel then also needs a card that says something like, until the end of the turn, all your opponent's characters lose resist. Yeah,
for sure. Yep, I think this guy's kind of bad.
Yeah, sadly.
And next up,
speaking of resist,
exactly, Mouse Armor, a 2 cost uninkable steel card. It's an item. Its ability is exert. Chosen character gets resist +1 until the start of your next turn. Damage dealt to them is reduced by 1. So this is an effect for a character when you challenge in and when they get challenged back, because it's there until the start of your next turn. Low cost, you don't have to pay to use its ability, and it only costs 2. It is uninkable, which stinks. So if you're running an item package, you have to pick and choose which uninkable items you're going to stick in there, because there's a lot of uninkable items. But it seems decent. It seems like it's low cost enough that it feels like you could potentially build a deck that has this in it.
Yeah, the deck that I built with Mouse Armor and Ariel and Maurice was pretty cool. You want to keep those characters alive anyway, because you're trying to combo with them, and this helps you do it. And it's an item that sort of fits in with the synergies. So I generally think that this card works pretty well in that deck, but I don't know if that deck is actually any good or not. And I don't know if this really fits into any other deck because of the fact that it's uninkable. And I don't know, you are able to get value out of it every turn. If you have multiple of these on the board, it's even better. So I like the card, but I don't know if it will find like a really good spot.
Yeah, I think it fits well with silver or steel being bodyguards too, so your bodyguards get some more value out of them.
Very true.
But yeah, I'm not sold on it being a meta card, but it's very cool. I think it can catch people off guard if you play it.
Yep. If you're playing like the Three Musketeers deck, you probably play this in there as well.
Yeah, the tabard.
Yeah, the tabard and then mouse armor, and then there's going to be a helmet, and there's going to be a whatever that you put in there. Just all the armor pieces.
Yep. Next up is Improvise, the 1-cost green inkable card. Chosen character gets +1 this turn, draw a card. This fits right into the action green decks.
Yeah.
If you're playing action green, I think this is really good. Not because of its ability, but because, one, it counts as an action and also lets you draw a card.
Yep. So and it only costs 1.
Yep. And it costs 1. So it lets you basically get a free action almost.
Yep.
It's the way I look at it. It's kind of like, so I know I bring Flesh and Blood up a lot meme, but in Flesh and Blood, there's a Vizrai deck that you have to play a non-attack action before you kind of start comboing stuff. But there's a card that is basically, it's literally a 0-cost card that says draw a card. So it starts the non-attack action and then also replenishes your hand, so you can just combo off. Kind of reminds me of that.
Yep, makes sense.
All right, next is Beast, a green legendary 6-cost inkable 4/5. Quest for 2. Second win. When an opposing character is damaged, you may ready this character. This guy's bonkers.
This guy is absolutely ridiculous.
So good. If you get this guy on board and your opponent has exhausted characters and you have characters on board, you can literally quest for 6 pretty easily. Just out of nowhere. Well, I guess not out of nowhere, but like as soon as this drops, your opponent either has to not let you damage them by not using their characters, or they have to have like let it go, be prepared, dragon fire, or something that can deal 5 damage to this guy to get him off the board, because he's gonna bring so much value.
Yep, 100%. It threatens to end the game basically whenever it comes down, and forces your opponent to play completely differently, or be forced to remove it, which in theory you've also played a bunch of other cards throughout the course of the game that your opponent had to remove. So by the time you hit 6 and you hit Beast, they might be out of stuff, and you might be winning that game.
What's crazy to me is there has been so much when this card was spoiled, which was a while back, there was so much discourse on whether this guy was good or not. I think this guy is insane.
Yeah.
Without having to build around him, without running the steel package.
That's the crazy thing about it.
Yeah. I mean,
you don't have to do anything special. You can just put him in your deck.
Yeah. I think that's how good this card is. It just slots into green decks regardless.
Yeah. I would be shocked if this was not a 4 of in every single green deck. This is like on the same level as Rapunzel in Amber. To me.
Yeah. This is the best green legendary so far, for sure.
Yeah, hands down. It's not that hard to damage your opponent's characters, and if you're not damaging your opponent's characters, they probably aren't using them at all, and you're probably in a good spot anyway. And then it's like on your turn, imagine you play Beast, your opponent does nothing because they don't want you to challenge into their characters. You get to just challenge with your characters for free, because then they don't want to challenge them back, so that you can challenge them and get damage on their characters and ready Beast and do all this stuff. So yeah, it's just a lot of pressure.
Yep, and you can ready this guy on your opponent's turn. So if you
Right.
have multiple things exhausted and they swing it
If you have a
into
bodyguard,
this guy or bodyguard, you
Yeah.
just ready this guy.
yeah, that's nuts. Like I think this came up in one of our games where you like you just happen to have a bodyguard on the board. You have like that prince or whatever, and you know the prince deals damage to something, and then you ready beast. And now beast can't be attacked.
Yeah, it seems so. He seems like absolutely bonkers good, like
Yeah.
value.
Absolutely ridiculously good.
All right, Fang Crossbow, a 3-cost inkable blue item, another inkable item for blue. That's
Yep.
some music to Mike's ears. He's got 2 abilities on it. Exert, pay 2, chosen character gets -2 this turn, or exert, banish the item, banish chosen dragon character, which we now have 2 dragon characters in the game, one of which we've not talked about yet.
Yeah.
So there's technically 2 things you can hit with this. What do you think? What do you think about this card?
I think it's kind of trash.
Seems bad.
Yeah, it seems real bad. I don't even want this in my item decks because it's not like that useful otherwise.
If you're playing against Ruby Amethyst a
then
lot,
yeah, maybe.
do you play this?
Maybe just to kill their Maleficent, maybe.
For free.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, well, 3 for 3 costs because
Sure.
the cost of the item.
Right. Yeah. But that's still good value. I
That's
think
super good value.
like, yeah, maybe you play one of these and then you can recur it with Tamatoa if you need to.
hmm
Yeah. I mean,
I think
this could be part of that like toolboxy sort of like red blue items package where you play this and you play Sword of Truth and you play Poison Apple and you just play all the different things that want to, you know, see different things on the other side of the table.
the good thing about this versus like Sword of Truth is this is inkable.
Yeah.
So if the meta is still
That's true.
red purple, then you probably slot this in your blue deck, knowing you can ink it if you're not playing against red purple.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Last one for the day is going to be Last Stand. It is a amber 2-cost uninkable event or action. I keep calling them events. They're actions.
They're actions in this game. Yeah.
Banish chosen character who was challenged this turn. So basically what this card wants you to do is use one of your low costs to swing into one of their high costs and then get to pay 2 to defeat it, essentially, or banish it. Like if you have some crappy 1 cost on the field, Sergeant Tibbs, they have a giant Maleficent or Beast, you can swing into it with that crappy character and then pay 2 to defeat it. Is that good?
I think this is good. I think it's.
You think so?
Well, it's the only removal in amber, and it doesn't require you to have lost the character that you challenged with. So
True.
you could. I mean, I'm imagining even we haven't talked about it yet, but people who are listening have probably seen this. The Rapunzel that's a 0/6. You could challenge with that even and get some damage on that, so you can heal it later, and then also use this to banish whatever you challenge. So I do think this card's pretty good. I think generally like challenging is not a thing that's difficult to do, so it's not really a hard condition to meet. And if you're in colors that don't have a lot of other removal, this is a good option, and it's cheap.
It's unfortunate that your opponent's character has to be exerted.
Yeah,
like this doesn't remove ready characters typically.
Yeah,
there is a combo if you have Cinderella, the new Cinderella on board.
Oh, yeah.
Challenge into a ready character and then use this. But she's already pretty beefy.
Yeah, so she's already probably defeating whatever she's challenging.
But if it is something really big, then maybe you need this. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's good as a, I don't know, like a sometimes your deck just needs a card like this.
And like you said, Amber doesn't have big willpower character or strength characters. A lot of them are 1, 2, 0, maxing out at 3. So maybe you're able to use either one of your Rapunzels to make this trigger. This probably fits well in that deck because you have so many low strength characters. Yeah,
if you're playing this with blue or you're playing with this with purple, there aren't a ton of like good ways to remove stuff in those colors. So probably where I'd look to start.
All right, guys, that's it for this one. Stay tuned for our future. We got lots of more cards to talk about, so definitely tune in because it's gonna be spicy.
That's right.
And as always, we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.